I was like really scared. I was like, well, I'm 18 years old when I actually started charging money for like coaching and consulting, and I was like, who am I to do this? And I like set up a really corporate-y style website, and I looked really professional. Yeah, I made money, but I hit a glass ceiling multiple times. Like I could not get past $8,000 a month. I unsubscribed from newsletters, I turned off Facebook, and I just started doing what actually felt right for me and how I wanted to market and sell myself, how I wanted to do my programs, how I wanted to help people, and that just blew up my business, to be honest with you.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 58 of the Andrew Deitch podcast. Hope all of my American friends had an amazing Thanksgiving. I put out a very sappy Instagram post thanking everybody who listens to the podcast and everybody who's been a guest so far. So if you haven't read it, you can go check it out on my Instagram, AD Podcast. But it's been a crazy ride. Couldn't have done it without everybody who's been a part of this thing. If this is your first time checking out your if this is your first time checking out my podcast, welcome. Off to a good start, obviously. But my mission here is to bring transparent, vulnerable, and valuable conversations with the most fascinating people that I know. And hopefully I can bring some entertainment and value to maybe your morning commute, or maybe you're cleaning your house, or maybe you're cooking, or maybe you're at the gym, or maybe you're a crazy person that just likes to sit down and listen to a podcast and relaxes. But either way, I know there's a million other things you could be listening to right now, so thank you. It really means a lot. But let's just jump into the show. My guest today is Katya Sarmiento, and Katya runs her business, reachandmakemillions.com, where she helps 6- and 7-figure digital small businesses scale up with the right systems and operations. And as a tech and systems pro, she basically helps any businesses that are messy. They've got a bunch of messes. They're constantly trying to put out fires and solve problems. And instead, she creates systems and operations to basically make that not happen and help these businesses focus on growth, which obviously amounts to more profit, more time, and more freedom for her clients. And she's been featured on Entrepreneurs on Fire, the McMethod Email Marketing Podcast, Women's Side Hustle Society, Successful Dropout, and like 12 other podcasts, a bunch of blogs, telesummits, masterclasses. She's also hands down the most prepared podcast guest I've ever had. She has an entire page on her website that makes it super easy for any podcast host to create all the necessary work, artwork, promotion materials, contact info, possible questions, potential topics, high quality photos and logos for promotional material. She's absolutely killing it. She said that she used to host a lot of telesummits for her clients, so the biggest thing she couldn't stand is when people were terrible podcast guests and couldn't give her all that information. So she makes it as easy as possible for podcasters, and rightfully so. She's awesome. She kills it. But anyways, I had an awesome time chatting with Katya, and she's a really smart and interesting woman, and I think you guys are going to get some value out of this one. So without any further ado, please welcome my friend Katya Sarmiento. All right, Katya, we're live.
Awesome.
Like I said before, you're the most prepared podcast guest that I've had so far. Because most of my podcast guests, I just kind of write up the show notes and the bio and everything, just kind of based on what I know. But Katya is on top of it. She sent me a sheet with all of her info, all of her headshots, how to pronounce her name. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. Because, that's something that comes up. My last name is annoying. It's Deitch.
Deitch.
Yeah, it's like just one syllable, and people always want to make it way more complicated. Deitch. Yeah, it's just Deitch. But anyways, so Katya, we're here in Katya's apartment, which is fun.
Yes.
She has a really cool apartment. But
Thank you.
not to go off the subject too much, but just to, like, I've already, in all my podcasts, I do, like, a little introduction, like, today my guest is blah, blah, blah. Cool. You're used to this thing. You've done a bunch of podcasts.
Yep, a lot.
I was going to say, also, you're probably the most experienced podcast guest I've
really?
had, as far as the amount of podcasts you've been on. Because a lot of my guests, like, they've been on a couple, but you've been on, like, a ton. So I was like, lot. Yeah.
I love having conversations, though, so...
That's awesome. Me too. That's great.
That's why you're here.
Exactly. That's why I did this thing. So, but anyways, so to give people just like an elevator pitch of who you are and what you do, just give us a little quick couple minutes of who you are and what you do right now.
Okay. So, I live here in Atlanta, in Buckhead, and I'm 23 years old, and I have my own business. It's called Reach and Make Millions. And basically, I help six-figure entrepreneurs scale up to seven figures. And it's usually like they're feeling really busy and overwhelmed, and they're like doing all the things in their business. And so I help and come in like I set up the systems and processes that are required to like grow this company and actually run the company correctly. Because right now they're just kind of like putting out fires and plugging holes and freaking out at all the problems and things breaking. But like I've also helped newer entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs trying to get to six figures, like start thinking about like, okay, like what are the systems that like what is it that I'm actually building, and what is it that like I need to have set up, prepared to reach six figures. So yeah, that's like in the gist of what I do.
Nice. So to kind of go back a little bit, I also really like to hear people's stories of how they got to where they were or to where they are now, because I can look at you and be like, oh my gosh, Katya, she's so cool. She's got this awesome business. She's like super organized. She's got all these systems and stuff. But I'm sure it wasn't always the case.
Oh no.
And I listened to a couple of the other podcasts you've been on, so I kind of heard your story a little bit.
You heard my story at the Mastermind too.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever told that story, actually.
That's really awesome. Yeah. And that was really powerful. You need to tell that story more.
Thank you.
If you can tell it now, that'd be awesome. But so Katya and I met a couple weeks ago. At a mastermind hosted by Austin Distel, who was also on the podcast. What's up? And also Owen Ludd spoke there. He was also on the podcast. What's up? But anyways, so like just kind of take us back, and you said you're from Miami, right?
Yes.
That's where you're from originally.
Yes.
So that's where you were born. You grew up in the heat. Now you're in Georgia, and it's like super cold for you, which is hilarious.
It's freezing.
So growing up in Miami, like, did you have a normal childhood, or was there anything crazy, or just typical?
Okay, so like I'm gonna be honest, I was a really weird child. So my parents were divorced when I was 1, so like I didn't really know what was going on, and I kind of like grew up with my grandparents, and I would go to school and shit. But like what was really weird about me was I was always an entrepreneur, and I didn't know that. And my dad actually has his own like social media marketing company, and so later on I started like helping him out with his business, but I still it didn't click with me. But like as a kid, my favorite games were like Lemonade Tycoon, or like I had this game called Big Biz Tycoon, and I remember it being so difficult. This is like on an old like Windows PC like brick computer, and I'm like trying to play this game. It's like this game and Lemonade Tycoon and Solitaire are the only things on there that I played, and it was so difficult. But then one day I like cracked the code of business in this game, and I was so excited, and I would like then I started like restarting the game and just beating it over and over again. And all this game was you have an office, you have a desk, and you just need to make money and create products and grow from there. That's all this game was.
Whoa.
I was such a weird child. Lemonade Tycoon too, like you have a lemonade stand and you just need to sell lemonade.
And you become like a lemonade like empire, right?
Exactly, and you grow it. And I enjoy, like even right now on my phone, I have these like Kairosoft games, which is just like a different scenario. Like you have a game development company and you just grow that. You have a hotel and you just grow that. Like I just have always loved like tycoon games like that.
Yeah.
That's like my first instance. Oh, you know what? Actually, another instance of me like being an entrepreneur. I lived in a townhome with my mom, And at the top of the stairs, I put like a string from the top of the railing to the wall, and then I put like a little canister, and I didn't allow anyone to pass without giving me a coin. And I would have my dog like stand watch as security. And I was just like, what? And then another time I had like a toy cash register. And so I literally went around to every single door in my grandmother's neighborhood, knocked on the door and offered them something. I think like to paint nails or something. I didn't even know how to paint nails, but I just wanted to like get some like, I didn't even know the difference between quarters and dimes and pennies yet. Like that's how young I was.
Nickels are bigger, they're worth more. They're worth more than a dime.
So I was just like totally an entrepreneur, and I just never realized it. And then, you know, growing up, my dad started giving me like these discs that like teach you front page and Photoshop, and he would have me help out with his like business. But
like old Photoshop, like old Photoshop school. CS3 and 2 and stuff.
I don't even remember there being a CS in front of it.
It was literally just Photoshop, the first one.
Photoshop some number. Yeah, I remember when CS came out and I got so excited and I torrented it because I was like a teenager and I like didn't have money to pay like a couple $100 for whatever it was.
Yeah, probably more.
It was probably a lot more. Or like my dad would like buy it and I would like steal all his copies of everything. Or like just like install it and then return the disc. But like, yeah, he was the one that like, you know, like I had a computer in my mom's house. I lived with my mom, but it had to be in the living room. Like there were no electronics allowed in my room. No TV, no phone, no laptop, no computer.
Huh.
And so I would go work downstairs in the living room. And like, oh my God, the arguments with my mom were so crazy, especially as a teenager. Like I would be like working on Photoshop and teaching myself how to code, like, and not like WordPress, like what people think about right now, like Squarespace and stuff. Like I would literally be writing lines of code to code a website on front page, you know? So I don't even know if people know what front page is anymore. But like my mom would like shut off the Wi-Fi and I'd be like, you're ruining my future. Like I was literally
Why would she shut it off? Because you're spending too much time on it?
It would be like 3 a.m. I would sneak downstairs to the living room and she would catch me and she would turn off the Wi-Fi. So I got smart and I started waking up at 6 a.m. in summer, and then she would like look, because like she had a balcony, like a little office space in her room, and she could look directly down at my office, at my like computer desk. I have a picture of it, it's so funny. And she'd be like, what are you doing? Go back to bed. I'm like, it's 6 a.m. I woke up early, you know? Like, so I was trying to like outsmart the system basically there, but I was like obsessed. And when I said you're ruining my future career to my mom, like I literally thought like career, like job, like I would find something in technology. I would find like, you know, a coding job or a graphic design job or something, you know, like I heard adults doing that when I was that age. But I never imagined I would be an entrepreneur at all. And that's actually what I realize now I was working towards. Like I would barter. I would I would find people online and do stuff for them basically for free usually. And so it's just like I've always naturally been an entrepreneur, and honestly I didn't realize it until like this past year, actually looking back at my life and being like, wow, okay, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people are kind of born with that, you know, they want to start their lemonade stand, or they're playing video games that are like that, or, you know, weird little things that you don't think are entrepreneurial. You're just like doing them because you think they're cool and fun, but it's almost kind of like primal in a weird way that you'd want to be like entrepreneurial, because you're trying to like take something small and make it big, like taking something that you've created in some way and making it massive and getting everyone to buy it or whatever.
Like I don't know why I wasn't normal. Like I could have just been playing with Barbies the whole time and I wasn't.
But like, so you said that you were a weird kid. Is that how you were weird? Like you were playing weird games, or were you weird in like other ways too?
Like so like during the school year things would be great and I'll go to school, but then when summer came around it was work time. Like I would cut people out of my life and just like wake up early in the morning, work on the computer all the way through until my mom forced me off the computer. I would like forget to eat. Like my mom would have to like be like, you need to eat something at this point. Like I would be constantly like I took it seriously, like a job, seriously. And if anybody interrupted me, I'd be like so pissed. And I would be like on Photoshop, like experimenting, and I would be like studying coding on like these websites that not many people knew about at the time, like actually like college websites that like had free courses online that you could like Google. And it was just like, dude, most people in the summer I realized would go out to the movies and to the mall and to the park and do normal teenager things. Like, my mom was screaming at me for being on the computer at 2 a.m. instead of me, like, sneaking out and doing drugs and having sex and going to parties. Like,
yeah, it's very true.
That was our worst arguments. I was on the computer working.
Yeah, that's so funny. What you said, like, you literally, like, there was a switch that went off in the summertime. You were like, it's work time.
It's
like,
work time. Oh,
what
yeah.
What made you think, like, so you were really thinking, like, I'm going to learn this so then, like, one day I can get a job in this kind of thing? Like, that's, like, what the main motivation was? Or were you just curious about it and just loved it?
Because, like, the job thing only came up when my mom was restricting me. Because I wanted her to realize how important it was to me. And I knew that, like, money was important to the family. Like, there were a lot of, like, money beliefs and stuff going on there. So I was like, hey, but this is going to be my future job. Like, I've been talking to people that do this as a job, but really I was doing it out of pure enjoyment and passion. Like, I loved it. I loved just coding all day. I loved learning all day. I would also play World of Warcraft as well with, like, my cousins. So I would be, like, playing World of Warcraft. But it was, like, I had a schedule. Like, in the morning, I would play World of Warcraft with them. And then, like, from this time to this time, I would study code. And from this time to this time, I would just do some graphic design on Photoshop. And then it was just, like, yeah, I loved it.
That's awesome.
So much.
So even then, you were super systematized. Like, from this time, I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to have some fun. Then I'm going to go back to working. And then I'm going to go to bed.
I kind of created a business, too. Like, when MySpace was a thing, I had, like, a layout company. Like, people would request custom-coded layouts from me all day, every day. And I had to deliver. Like, I had a delivery time frame of, like, I would give you your custom layout within, like, 2 days.
Wow.
And so, like...
Were people paying you for this?
No, it was completely free. I was just doing like, and I knew people were, like, charging for this, but I was, like, making some really good MySpace layouts. Like, not like, you know, like, you slap, like, a background on and you put some colors. Like, no, I was, like, custom coding, like, moving the boxes. I'm not gonna, like, get, like, super technical here, but, like, you know, the little, like, about box over here and the picture over here. I was, like, really going in depth with these layouts. I had to quote unquote hire people, which is really just recruiting people for free that also wanted to do layouts and learn how to custom code. I had, like, 3 people with me, and I think it was like Kat's MySpace layouts or something like that, like something super basic. I was doing this on a daily basis. It was just like, you know, like, thinking back on it, it's so funny because it's just like, I was doing it because it was so much fun and because I loved doing it. I like, what else was I gonna do? Just, like, sleep?
Yeah.
Go out? I don't know.
Yeah.
Even
I feel
it's
you.
kind of normal.
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, like, a lot of people, me included in the summer, like, I was like, school's over, it's time to hang out.
Like, I actually have my full day to do something productive.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was going to say now, like, just to jump forward a little bit, it seems like you're really big into systems, figuring out how to systematize what you're doing so that you can save yourself in the long run time and everything. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people think that creating a system or a schedule is, like, limiting themselves, you know, and they're like having the discipline to actually create a schedule and follow it is actually giving yourself way more time because you can actually accomplish the things that you want to do. And that's one thing that I think a lot of kids today, they're just wasting so much time. Like, you know, you always hear the cliche old person like, oh, these kids these days are just wasting time watching Netflix and whatever. And it's interesting that you even said that you had a schedule for, like, okay, now I'm going to play World of Warcraft and then I'm going to do this. Because I think that even me, like, I can benefit from that because sometimes in my brain, I'm always thinking, like, time that I'm, like, spending watching Netflix or time I'm spending playing video games is, like, time being wasted because if I have this free time, I need to, like, pour it back into my thing or whatever.
I'm a little weird in that sense. Like, okay, I'm going to be really honest with what's been going on this month. I have so much time on my hands. I get overwhelmed. I'm like, you could ask Gabriel, my boyfriend. He's right outside because it's like, I'll be like, okay, I don't have to work right now. Like, my laptop's closed. What do I do for fun? And then I get overwhelmed. I'm like, should I play Stardew Valley? Like, should I watch TV? Should I watch Netflix? Should I watch Hulu? Should I, like, watch a movie? Should we go out? Do we eat? Like, let me just, like, check Facebook really quick and, like, let me see if somebody messaged me. He's like, just put the phone down and relax. Like, and because, like, he doesn't work. And, like, I love that he just, like, he kind of, like, stays home and, like, takes care of me and he'll, like, play video games and, like, chill all day. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that. Like, I love working, and it's just like, so like recently we've been like shutting off the computer at 8 p.m. and watching Sailor Moon, like the old school Sailor Moon, and like just like episode after episode after episode. And even then I like feel that itch to like check Facebook and work on something while I'm watching Sailor Moon, like kind of like multitask. I'm like, I just need to like chill out and relax.
Yeah, that's how I am with podcasts. Like I always want to be multitasking. That's why I love podcasts, because some people are like, well, why don't you do video for your podcast? And I'm like, I eventually do want to do that, but right now it's like audio, because that's how I consume podcasts. Is I want to be like at the gym working out, but I'm also like learning something, or I'm also listening to a podcast or whatever. And so that, I mean,
so I'm just like weird like that. Like I like when people are like, I'm just catching, like the only TV thing I actually watch fully is Game of Thrones, but it's like The Handmaid's Tale and like what else, like Westworld. A friend came over and made us watch it every night, so it's like if he hadn't, I wouldn't have, you know. So it's like I actually have a difficult time just relaxing, because I'm like a workaholic, and that's like and I'm like, that's what my boyfriend's teaching me right now. But like you mentioned something about like systems feeling like restrictive. And something I realized is that, like, if a system feels restrictive, then you've set up the wrong system for yourself. And you're trying to fit yourself into a container that you don't actually fit into. So, for example, school. I hated school. Absolutely hated school. And not because of, like, oh, you know, like, I was just, like, bored. It was slow for me. Like, I would rather learn online. So I got myself out of in-person classes, as many as I could, and did online classes. And so that was a better system for me than physical school was, right? Or physical lectures. And so, you know, sometimes people are like, I'm going to do Pomodoro, and I'm going to like track my time and be productive for 30 minutes and then take a break for 10. Like, that shit doesn't work for me, because I want to like work for 2 hours and then like maybe take like a 30-minute break or something. Like, so different people are going to do different things. Like I love spreadsheets. I like, oh, so like whenever I say I love Trello, people are like, oh, so what's wrong with Asana? I'm like, there's nothing wrong with Asana. It's just I'm a very visual learner. Like, look at my whiteboard. Like, I have, like, I need my visual. Like, I need my whiteboard. I need my papers. I need Trello. It's visual. If I just do checklists and to-do lists, I get super overwhelmed. And I feel really restrictive. I feel like I can't plan out my days. So, but somebody might hate Trello and hate whiteboards and hate diagrams and spreadsheets and would prefer to-do lists and checklists in Asana. So, like, everybody, that's why, like, when somebody asks me, like, oh, so you help people set up systems. What systems would you set up for my business? I'm like, well, I don't know you. I don't know your team. I don't know your business. So I would need to get to know you for a while. And that's why I do a systems audit. And I figure out how this team works and how, like, what's this person's strengths and weaknesses and how they actually enjoy to, like, run a company. And I set up the right systems for them. Like, my preferences and biases of what system people should have actually isn't helpful at all.
Yeah, because everyone's different. Like, I mean, even for me personally, I know that, like, the systems that you might have, I'm like, I know that I couldn't, like, work like that or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a big thing that people, they look at their mentors, or they look at these people on YouTube, like, they look at Gary Vaynerchuk and, like, oh my gosh, he's like this hustle 24/7.
Okay, but like Gary has so many systems and team and support structures in place to be able to do that.
For sure.
And that's what he thrives on. So if you love to watch Netflix, like when do you watch Netflix?
I really don't watch Netflix very much because I'm always like feeling like it's a waste of time.
Oh yeah. So,
but
like,
if I did watch, my thing is YouTube. Like, I'll watch like a bunch of, I have like my subscribers, and I have my subscriber list. And like some of the YouTubers that I watch, like sometimes they'll put out pretty long videos, and I'll see that length.
Do you watch Rooster Teeth?
I do sometimes. My thing, I love cars. I watch tons of like car YouTubers.
Car YouTubers.
Yeah, which is like a weird niche, but there's
You're
like
gonna have
car.
To show me afterwards.
Yeah, like there's one guy, for example, he put out a video yesterday that was like 22 minutes long. And I was like, oh, that length is like too long. I just want to watch like a video for like 5 minutes. So I did. I watched it for like 5 or 10 minutes. And then I was like, okay, now I'm going to go back and like do stuff.
Do you know when you're the most productive in your day?
That's a good question. A lot of times it's late at night, which sometimes bites me in the ass because then I have to wake up early or whatever. But I'm like still working.
Why do you have to wake up early?
Because I have a job, which,
Okay.
you know, isn't the most ideal situation right now, but I mean, it's cool because my job is pretty flexible, but sometimes I do have to wake up early.
Yeah.
But also sometimes like in the middle of the day, I can find myself being really productive as well, like after lunch or something.
Well, so see, like what I would do in that situation is actually set up a system to figure out when you are most productive. And just like I would tell you, do your normal thing on a week-to-week basis, and maybe after a couple of weeks we see like your workflow, and there's like apps that will like track what you do, or like when you're productive or not. And then like I know a job like is pretty hard to like change. Like I used to have to wake up at 6 a.m. and go work full time, and then sometimes they would put me on a 3 p.m. shift, so I would be working like nighttime. So it was just like I had no control over that. But it's just like, you know, one example is like I am a night person too. Well, actually, before moving in here, I used to be a night person. And so I would just let myself work late and get all that productive work done and then sleep in the morning. But now here, I have floor-to-ceiling windows, so the sun wakes me up really early in the morning. And so I wake up early in the morning, and I actually find myself productive now. Well, you know what? Actually, what I realized is, like, I like to chill in the mornings. So I make sure not to set, like, this is, like, me saying yes to you at 10 in the morning is very rare. Yeah. I actually felt bad because I had to reschedule last time, which is probably why I said yes at 10 in the morning, because I usually don't start work until, like, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, and I just set that boundary for me. It's like, okay, so if I wake up at, like, 7 in the morning when the sun rises, I have until 1 o'clock. Like, that's a lot of time. I can do whatever I want. But usually I'm doing my morning routine, or I'm just chilling out with Gabriel, or, like, whatever. And then from 1 to 8, I am working. Like, that is my productive time, 1 to 8. I love doing calls, team meetings, like, just work with people. And then 8 o'clock, shut off the computer, because if not, like, I'm going to be stressed out. Like, I know if I'm on the computer past 8, I start feeling stressed. And I start feeling overwhelmed, and I start feeling like I have a lot of stuff to do, even though it's just like, I'm just tired. I'm just getting tired at that point, and I'm like coming up with like delusions over here.
yeah, I feel you.
So that's when I force myself to watch Sailor Moon or like whatever TV thing in the moment, Game of Thrones. And then I'm like, you know, doing my nighttime routine by 10 o'clock and going to bed. But that like took me time to figure that out, you know, and like actually, because like if you're feeling guilty about like watching TV or just relaxing, it's like, okay, there's like something going on here. Either you're not 100% focused on your work that you're actually doing, or you're just not letting yourself relax, which is like what I do. And you could probably like set up your day. This is like all like priority and time management talk right here, but like
I think it's important though, because a lot of people find that they waste way more time, me included. Like sometimes at the end of my day, I'm like, I didn't accomplish like half the stuff I wanted to today. And then I'll look back and I'm like, oh yeah, because I scrolled through Facebook for like an hour and got trapped in the
so
freaking
I have
wormhole.
Like newsfeed eradicator on my computer. I like delete Facebook from my phone. I'll like reinstall it sometimes and then like re-delete it. It's like a bad habit. But like you could also like set up systems for you. It's like, okay, like so what I do at night, my nighttime routine is like I set my to-do list for tomorrow. It's like, what is the one thing I want to accomplish tomorrow that if I do nothing else, I will be glad that I did this one thing. And I write that down the night before. And then at 1 o'clock when it's time to work, that is the first thing I do. And if I do anything else, great. If I don't, fine. I don't feel guilty about it anymore because I got the one thing done, right? And so at least you have, because it's like so difficult to like look back at your day like I didn't accomplish anything. I highly doubt that's true. I'm sure you did a lot, but did you do the things that were leading you to the goal, to the vision, to like where you want to go, or did you do just a lot of random busy work? You know, that's probably what because you probably did a lot, but probably a lot of busy work, which is what you feel like not good about.
And then a lot of times the one thing that you need to accomplish is the one thing that you don't want to do.
I know.
Yeah. My thing that I've been struggling with recently is I've been trying to develop a really good morning routine. And I like what you said earlier about how like sometimes when you feel like systems are like trapping you. Is this your morning routine?
This is my page for my morning routine. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 things I do in the morning.
Wow.
And then I have 2 things that I do at night. And then I have my food tracker. I don't know if I have one filled out. I think it's like outside, but yeah.
That's awesome.
And I like mark them off. So I know you guys can't see, but on the left-hand side, there's like a label where I could put meditation or like morning pages, like I write 750 words a day in the morning, or reading or whatever. And then on the top, it has all of the days of the month. And so every day I am like crossing off with like a colored pen, like orange or green gel pen over here. I like to get colorful with my systems. And then so I'm just checking it off. And then if I don't complete something, like for example, I mentioned this at the mastermind, if I didn't meditate today, I write down my reason. And so like I'll put a number in the box, and then in the bottom in the notes section, I'll write 1, didn't have time. And so anytime there's a 1 here, I'll know my excuse was I didn't have time. And then at the end of the month, I look back, it's like, wow, I didn't meditate for an entire week because I said I didn't have time. I was doing this launch. But like Headspace, the Headspace app, which is what I use for meditation, just came out with this like 3-minute meditation every day. So that's not actually a valid excuse. So like, what am I going to do about that? Am I going to keep making that excuse, or am I going to do something different, So I'm like really, like this is like, if I don't do this, I have the worst day ever.
Yeah.
Like I need this system. Like people, when they come over and they see me checking off my morning routine, like sometimes it'll be 1 o'clock and I haven't finished my morning routine, but I will finish it like throughout the day. And it's like, people are like, why are you doing that? That's like so much stuff. And I'm like, you know what? It just, all of that I know makes me feel really good. I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but it was like, that's like what I personally need to have like a really good day. And if I don't do it, then my day really sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of people that are listening to this podcast are people, at the beginning I kind of said, you were like, who are the people that are listening to this podcast? And I hope that the people that are listening to this podcast are people that are trying to better themselves, trying to accomplish more things in their day, trying to do things that they didn't think were possible before, stuff like that. And so, like for people that are starting to try to figure out what a morning routine would look like for them, I mean, a lot of times I think that people just passively go throughout their day, and they might even have a subconscious system, but it's not even a system that they created. It's like a system that they just think is, okay, when I wake up, I'm going to check my phone, go through Instagram, look at my likes, all that stuff.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? And then like, maybe eat some breakfast, and then I'm like, go to work. That's like their morning routine.
The most important question is, how do you feel when you do that? Like when I wake up and the first thing I do is check Facebook, I feel absolutely terrible.
Me too.
And when I wake up and the first thing I do is turn around and tell Gabriel how grateful I am for him, and I give him a huge hug, and I just chill in bed talking to him all morning, I feel great. So it's like, which one would you rather do more often? So are you going to delete Facebook and Instagram and Twitter off of your phone, or are you going to continue to like leave, like you're basically allowing yourself to do that,
Yeah, it's very true.
And then so like, this is actually like an Instagram post that I made of my morning system. So like I have everything listed out, and then I check them off.
Nice. So is that a monthly thing?
Yes.
Okay, so each page is for a whole month.
Exactly.
That, if people want to like find that page, is that a public thing, or is that something you created?
It is lifebootstrap.com.
Cool.
Dr. Duncan.
Lifebootstrap.com.
I don't follow him, but I love this thing, and I print out like many copies, and this has been like, it's overwhelming.
That's your
like,
thing.
Follow his system, because like I like kind of like went past his system and did something even more complicated. But that's like what I personally need, and that's like totally okay. Like people don't, like I see a lot of people seeing me do these systems and then try to replicate it themselves. I'm like, well, but no, like I don't, like, is this really gonna work for you? Like find what's actually gonna work for you, because I'm doing this because I know myself and I know how I am, and I know this is gonna really work, but maybe we could do something simpler or something different for you that will help you out, right? Like maybe people are really productive in the morning and they wanna wake up at 6 a.m. and like go straight on the computer and start, I don't know, like recording videos or something, right? I wouldn't be able to do videos in the morning.
Yeah, you're like,
but some people are really good, or like writing or something.
Yeah.
Like I have been trying to force myself to write. And I have a hard time communicating. Like I am a good writer, but I much prefer doing live streams or conversations or speaking, right?
Me too.
So it's like I could sit here and be like, I have to write. That is the one way I'm going to market myself, is writing blog posts and shit. Or I could be realistic. I'm like, I'll do a live stream, I'll do a podcast, maybe I'll get it transcribed into a blog post and call it a day. Or people trying to force themselves onto video when they would much rather like speak in person or like write, it's like, I just feel like people need to stop. Like you need to get real about who you actually are. And like just ignore the outside noise and do what really works for you, because like you could take somebody else's cookie cutter formula and try it for yourself and it may or may not work, but it's like, is it even worth it to go against your own authenticity and your own values and your own way of being to accomplish what? Get some money, you know? And I feel like I did that at the beginning of my business. Like I was like really scared. I was like, well, I'm 18 years old when I actually started charging money for like coaching and consulting, and I was like, oh, like who am I to do this? And I like set up a really corporate-y style website and I looked really professional and stuff like that, and it was just like didn't feel good. And yeah, I made money, but I hit a glass ceiling multiple times. Like I could not get past $8,000 a month at all, no matter what I did. Like no marketing strategy, no coach, nothing, until finally I actually hired a life coach, and she was like, you need to stop doing all of this stuff that isn't you. And I completely stopped my business. My story in the mastermind of me stopping my business, that is not the first time, by the way. I've done that many times. I've had my realizations of like, oh wow, I like totally went the wrong direction. Let me stop doing this and let me start from scratch.
And starting a whole new business. That is so scary for some people. I mean, for most people.
I know. Well, like I live here and like my family's in Miami, and if I like stop and I don't make money, it's on me.
Totally.
Like, and I have gotten to the point where I needed to go get a full-time job to pay bills, just so that I could start from scratch. Because that's just like something with me is like, I cannot do something that is inauthentic and out of alignment for long. Like I burn out real fast. I start feeling terrible. Like business, like I make money, but then again, that $8,000 cap happens consistently. And once I was able to be like, you know what? Yeah, I've started my business over and over again. It's always been in technology and systems though, always. Or like some entrepreneurship type thing. And it's like, once I realized like, you know what? Forget all the courses I bought, forget all the programs. Like I hired a life coach to actually like help me like focus on me. And I just like, I unsubscribed from newsletters. I turned off Facebook and I just started doing what actually felt right for me and how I wanted to market and sell myself, how I wanted to do my programs, how I wanted to help people. And that just blew up my business, to be honest with you.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So just to give people a perspective of how you even started this thing, because we kind of jumped around, which is, that's what happens on podcasts. Yes. It just happens. People are always like, we have to stay on the story, but it's great. That's the point.
It's conversation.
Exactly. Conversations are not meant to be super structured all the time. But to go back, like you were like you said, you went to high school and you didn't like school, but you were just like, college is what everyone does. So you just went to college,
yes,
right?
Yes, of course. So here's the actual timeline of it. Like when I was a teenager, my dad hired me at like $10 an hour to work with his company, and I would like create social media profiles, manage social media. I would like help him out at his workshops. He was teaching like SEO and WordPress and social media marketing and stuff like that. And then,
this isn't during what year? Because that, I mean, like obviously social media has gotten so big, but at that point, was it still pretty new in that space?
I feel like it was pretty new. Like Facebook was just up and coming. I wouldn't be able to tell you the year without looking at LinkedIn, and I don't have the LinkedIn app on my phone, so.
Yeah.
But it was like, maybe when I was like 13, 14 years old, and I'm 23, so 10 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Facebook and all that stuff, so social media marketing, like SEO kind of stuff was kind of still pretty new. Like it wasn't.
I think so.
Known by like I feel like if I say the term SEO, people know what that is. I feel like 10 years ago, people might not even
Well, we are in a
exactly
bubble, kind of. Like, when you go outside of this entrepreneur bubble, like, I've noticed people don't even know what I do. You know? So, I don't even know.
It is odd. You're right. And
maybe we were outside of the bubble at the time. I don't know.
It is kind of true. There definitely are people like, I don't know if my mom would know what SEO means,
Oh my God. I like asked my grandmother, what do you think I do? And in Spanish, of all things. And she's like, you do good things and make a lot of money. I'm like, okay. And I spent 5 years trying to explain to her what I do, and it's just not worked out. Like
that's hilarious.
People just don't get it.
That's so funny.
So maybe he was like the up and coming for like social media marketing and stuff, especially like it was local, so it was in Miami. So like I helped him out with that, and then I got a job because I was like, well, you know, do the normal thing and get a job. And I was actually in high school, I was in an elective where you got a grade for having a job, and my dad's job didn't really count as that because it was my dad. So I actually had to get a job. And so I did that for a while I like, you know, learned to code and did websites. So I was kind of like freelancing, but not really like getting paid much for it. Like I got paid like $100 for 6 custom coded websites one time.
Jeez.
Yeah, and not like WordPress, like I said. It was like I opened up Sublime and wrote line by line on a website. And I ended up not even using any of those 6 websites, which sucked. So it was just like, yeah. So learn from my mistake.
Yeah.
But then, you know, high school finished, and I almost didn't graduate high school, to be honest with you. I hated high school. I just like skipped all the time, especially senior year. I don't
Were
even
your
know.
parents mad about you skipping, or did they even really know?
No, my mom, like, it would be a struggle because like the other thing was I was diagnosed with major depression and I was put on Prozac. It was just like a really tough time in my life. And looking back on it, I realized it was because like I thought that my life had to be this like finish high school, go to college, get a job, get married, have kids, and that's it. And I was so depressed about that. And like I felt like I couldn't actually be who I wanted to be. I felt like anytime that I was myself, I was bullied or I was made fun of, and I was just like really weird and didn't really fit in. And like it was just tough. And my mom and I would like, oh my God, it was like probably the worst years of my life. She would try to get me up for school and I would just keep pretending to be asleep. And I remember the day, someday in my senior year, after years of trying to get me up, and we even did sleep study testing and everything. There was nothing wrong with me. I just didn't want to go to school.
Yeah.
And it was like, she was just, one day she opened the door and like you could just hear in her voice that she was just like done with it. She's like, I'm not going to wake you up anymore. If you don't go to school and you don't graduate, it's your responsibility. And I was like, and it was like this like sinister tone. Like I remember it so clearly. And I was like, is she like bullshitting me? Like, cause she would trick me into getting me to school. Like she would find ways to get me to school one way or another. So I was like, is this another one of her like ways to get me to school? But I heard her leave the house. I remember jumping up, looking out the window, seeing her car gone and just like crying out of joy. I'm like, I don't have to go to school anymore. It was like the best thing ever. It was just like school sucked so bad. And that's like a podcast conversation because I could talk about 2 hours of like all the horrible experiences I had there. But like, especially with like the Me Too post going on right now, that was all of my high school, man. It was tough. So it was like, you know, and then so like I would like wake, because I was awake. I'm sure my mom knows that. And so I would hear her and she stopped, like she would used to bang on my door, scream at me, pull the covers off, like open the windows, like pull me out of bed, get me to the bathroom. I would pretend to be sleeping on the toilet. Like I would do whatever it took to pretend I was fucking sleeping, brushing my teeth, sleeping, eating breakfast. Like I was like, I'm not going. I'm like not, like it was really bad. It was like, I don't know how my mom dealt with me during that time, but like, and you know, she would wake up and leave. And it was just like, I would run downstairs and start working. I would start coding. I would start doing my online classes. I had AP classes and I was dropped out of my AP classes to easier classes. I would show up for 10 minutes of the class. I made a deal with the teachers. I would finish all of the schoolwork, the classwork and homework in the first, like in those 20 minutes, and then they would let me leave.
Wow.
And so I would just, you know, wake up, do my coding, do my online classes, go to work. I would show up for the classes that I actually needed to show up for to get my high school graduation. Because I was like ready to get my GED. Like I really did not want to.
Was your high school chill like that? Like you could leave and no one said anything?
You know, if you got caught by security, that was a problem. But I was also in that like program where I could leave early to go to a job. So I would like lie and tell them I was going to a job, even though that wasn't the real thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then I also had a boyfriend that like drove at the time, so he would like pick me up and stuff. Like I moved out at 16 as well. Like that was another thing, but then I had to move back. Like I have so many stories. It was just not a good time in my life, but basically it was just like I just wanted to be doing like this entrepreneur stuff, but I didn't really know it was an actual thing. And what ended up happening was I went to college. I dropped out a semester and a half in. Like I just couldn't, you know. And what happened was I met this guy. I was actually looking for a personal trainer, and this guy's website sucked. But it was, I got a free consultation, and then he was like, so I heard you do websites, like, what do you think about mine? And I guess he saw the look on my face. He's like, well, I know it's not good. Can you help me fix it? And so I did. And he's like, look, if you start a business, I will recommend all of my colleagues. And he was really well connected. So I was like, yeah. And I had a full-time job, and it was supposed to be in my career. Like, I was mapping out where I would grow in the company.
What thing were you doing? With your full-time job?
I was like at a beginner job, and I was going to work my way up to IT.
Gotcha.
What I thought. I thought I would be in like some computer programming, IT, something technology for sure. Even though in college I was studying music education and performance, business administration, computer science, and air traffic control. So it was like, I don't know, I couldn't make up my mind. But like,
sounds like a lot of people though.
I know.
A lot of people just don't make up their mind. They're just undecided for like 2 years.
But that's a good thing about entrepreneurship is like, if you have an idea, you could just run with it and do it and see if it works. And if it doesn't, you like go on to the next idea, and you're never strapped to one thing. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing about jobs that I never lasted. It was like, I was in this one position, I mastered it in 3 months, and I can't get promoted to a new one for another 6. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But
unless someone quits or like something weird happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always hate that too. My philosophy is like, if you're in a job, like stay there until you feel like you can't learn anything else or you can't grow into another position.
That happened way too fast for me.
Yeah.
In every single job. Like, I love learning, so I would learn everything about the job, even the supervisor positions, and then I would find myself doing supervisor jobs. I'm like, I'm not even getting paid for this, but they are, and I'm doing their job. So it's like, So okay, back to the question. So then, like, after that, I started actually charging for websites, and so I did more freelance web design for more money. And then I finally found the online entrepreneur space, and I found what coaching and consulting was, and I started doing like tech consulting for like holistic people, like health coaches and acupuncturists, and like those people trying to get online. And then I just started.
Was that because I know that you have a lot of like health issues. So is that because that's what you gravitated towards, because you were trying to seek out those types of people?
Exactly. It was a mix of my health issues and also my depression, because I still was dealing with that. And I took a program that was based on NLP, and I got certified in coaching, but the biggest part was having that community of coaches coaching me and helping me through my stuff of like depression and anxiety and stuff like that. And like, it was like a big difference. Like, before the course, I would cut myself. Like, people had to hide razors, scissors, like any knives from me. And then after the course, I'm like, I don't even remember the last time I wanted to harm myself or kill myself, right? Like, I was very suicidal as a teenager. And so it was like, this program really helped me. And I was like, wow, if this was the impact they made on me, imagine if I helped them get online and reach more people, how big of an impact these people would have, right? So that was kind of like my intention with that. And I taught people like how to make their websites, and like I started studying online marketing. I took every course under the sun. And so I started trying to help people with their marketing and stuff. I worked behind the scenes of companies, like doing the systems and operations of things. And it just kind of grew into that, where it was like, I realized my zone of genius is taking somebody's vision and making it a reality. Like, they've got an idea, how are we going to make it happen? Like, what systems are required, what tools, what tech, like what processes, like what team, what support, and like mapping that out and managing all of that, and then making it actually happen physically in the online space. And so that's kind of like, my business has gone through many different versions of that. Like, I was digital agency, I was coach, consultant, like a COO, and like I still do like a mix of like all of them, but it was just like, even though I've started and stopped different things, I've always been doing the same thing, and it's the systems.
I see. So you said you kind of like had one business and then completely started from scratch, and then did another thing and started from scratch. Like, what was causing that, and walk us through that? Because I think that's so scary for some people, that they would build something for a while and feel like they have control over it, and that's like what you're saying. You're going and consulting with these people, and a lot of times they've hit a glass ceiling or whatever, but they don't want to let go of it because they're afraid that they won't be able to get back to that point with something new.
Yeah. Well, like, not many people need to start from scratch like I did. Like, most of my clients are kind of at that like okay, I've made multiple six figures and I want to scale to 7, but I'm at max capacity. Like, what do I do? So I like help them pass that glass ceiling, which is a completely different animal than from like what I've been talking about. But like for me, it was just, and then like I said, not everyone needs to start and stop businesses like I've had. Like I'm really like, you know, like I'm easily influenced. So like if I take a course and somebody says, do this, I'll do it. You know, or if like I'll listen to the outside noise and get too influenced to like a direction that actually doesn't feel right for me. And so I'm really good at setting systems up, and I'll set up all these systems and I'll set up this whole business around something that actually doesn't even feel right to me in the first place. You know, and then I have to realize the hard way and be like, all right, let me stop doing that. Which is why I like working with people, with other people's businesses, because like they're passionate, they're clear on like what feels right to them, and they've been working on it, and now I just get to like amplify that rather than trying to, like I'm still trying to figure out like, okay, what is it? Like people look at me and they're like, oh my God, you're so perfect and organized. I'm like, dude, I don't even know. Like sometimes I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing? You know? Like I'm 23, like I have a lot of time to figure out like what is it I'm actually doing. And I feel at least that at least if like I go to sleep knowing that I helped somebody today, and that I spent time with my boyfriend, and that I took care of my health, and that I did something, like I did what was in integrity and what was right today, I feel good, you know, no matter what business that is, whatever that looks like one day I could be, you know, helping people with a specific tool and technology. The other day I could be like doing the complete systems of a business. Like one day I could be working one-on-one with people. One day I could be an agency. I don't care as long as I'm helping people and I'm working in my zone of genius. So that's kind of like the way that I look at it. And like, I'm not going to rush myself. Like I'm going to like, everyone's on their own journey. And I feel like a lot of people, especially like at our age, it's like whenever I've gone up and asked a mentor a question of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, what am I supposed to do? And every answer is like, how old are you? 18? Like, relax. Like, cut yourself some slack. Like, you're doing a lot already.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing a lot in the world. And, you know, just apparently, like, during these years, it's just, it happens. And, like, it is kind of a confusing time. And we're still, like, kind of growing up. And, like, we just finished, like, high school and college. And now it's kind of like, I can do whatever I want and I can make money out of it. Like, that's, like, powerful.
It's crazy powerful because no one will teach you that.
No.
And like you dropped out of college, so did I, you know, and I feel like that's a very, not taboo, it is a little bit taboo, but I think it's getting more and more of a common thing that people are accepting, like, oh wow, there are other ways that you can create an income, there are other opportunities out there.
But there's no straight path. Like in college, they give you the path, they give you the course, the curriculum, and as an entrepreneur, you don't have anybody telling you what to do on a daily basis. Like it's really tough.
That's why you kind of have to have that clear, defined goal. Like for me, like right now with this podcast, like a lot of people are using podcasts as like a supplement for whatever else. Like they're using it as a supplement for their business, or they're a coach, so they're making a podcast so they can, you know, get people into their, like just creating content out there so people even know who you are and stuff.
Pretty much.
But for me, like the podcast is something that I've been like toying around with in my brain for the past couple of years. And I was finally like, I just need to freaking do this and get this idea out of my brain and go. Yeah. And so, you know, I have a clear defined like vision because I've thought about it for like a couple years. And so all these people want to come in and be like, oh, you should do this. Oh, you should try this. Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should try this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, there are some times where you said when you're doing things on your own, it's hard to tell yourself what you actually need to do. But then also you need to really find something that you're passionate about and you know, and you have a clear defined goal of what you want, because then those steps become way easier to figure out.
Well, here's the thing, like, you know what you need to do. You knew you needed to do this podcast and you knew what it looked like. And then the outside voices are really easy to listen to and ignore your own inner voice. And especially like like I said, I'm a workaholic. Like I'm constantly working, constantly hustling. And I'm like in a fast paced, very like doing mode. And like that's actually like working with a life coach was like the best decision ever, because she actually helped me slow down and be like, what do you really want? Like, what do you really need? Like putting everything else aside, like unsubscribe from your emails, stop taking courses. And I'm not saying like if you're a beginner and you don't know anything about online marketing, don't take courses. Like, yeah, like find a mentor, take the courses, like I have spent years learning this stuff. I already know everything under the sun. It's not that I need to learn more, is that I need to start getting clear on what my vision is. And so, for example, I've also had a podcast idea for a very long time. And like, I haven't been able to put it into words because I kept asking other people for advice. And then finally, when I just let inspiration hit, I was able to get clear on that idea, and I'm able to start moving forward and taking action on that, right? But like, that took time still. You know,
Definitely.
like it takes time to create something of value, something that's actually going to like make a difference in the world. It's not going to be like, oh, one day you wake up and now you're a millionaire. You know?
Yeah.
Like it really takes time.
Yeah. And like for me, one thing that I'm really passionate about is doing in-person podcasts. Like, you know,
love that.
a ton of podcasts, you know, it's become a trendy thing. Like, and to do a podcast and stuff. And so many podcasts now are being done over Skype or Zoom or, you know, these face to, like, you know, on a computer video chatting basically. And that was one thing that I realized is like, I could go that route, of course, and I could probably get a lot of really awesome people on my podcast, but I really like crave that like person in, you know, like being in a space with a person is obviously way cooler of a connection than just talking to someone over the computer. And so I knew that if I went that route and went and did a ton of them over Skype, I would start to kind of like not enjoy it as much.
I actually had a friend who kind of just like packed everything of his into his car and like drove around the US kind of like couch surfing and interviewing people for his podcast.
That's so cool.
Right?
That's like one of my big goals is I'm going to basically reach out to all of my cool friends that I know live in different cities and then make kind of like a trip planned around podcasting and be like, okay, so for example, my friend Darius, he lives in California. And so I'll be like, okay, Darius, if I come to you and we hang out for like a couple weeks in California, what other cool friends do you know that could be on the podcast as well? Yep. And so then basically like in each new place I go, hopefully
you
be able to
new cool people.
Meeting new people, which is super important because obviously growing your network and meeting new people is something that I love doing anyways, but it's also super important because the more cool people and important people, I guess you could say, that you know, I mean, obviously that's really awesome.
Your network is your net worth. I hear that all the time.
Exactly. And so anyways, that's really interesting that you say that because that's actually something that I really want to do. And I think the biggest thing that's stopping me from doing that right now is that I haven't monetized the podcast yet. So I'm mainly just trying to focus on getting my audience first and then being able to do that as my next step.
Well, but you got clear on what you really want and you know the next steps. It's just a matter of doing it now.
Yeah. And really like my biggest thing right now is getting an audience. So I think the biggest thing I need to do is just pump out as much content as I can, make it good, and then figure out how to monetize it. So
pretty much.
But yeah, so I mean, it's hilarious because I talk about the podcast a lot on the podcast. People are probably like, okay, we get it, Andrew. We know you have a podcast. I'm listening to your dang podcast right now. But it's something that I'm really excited about. You know, like it's a really fun thing. But to go back to your story, because that's what this podcast is about.
Well, it's funny. Like I've done things that I haven't been excited about, and you could just tell. You can just tell. It's like it's draining for me to do this. I'm not even making, or like even if you do make money from it, it's like you're gonna like hit a point where you're either gonna burn out or it's not gonna work anymore. Like it's not sustainable. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that you're like just watching you, like seeing your face when you talk about it, like you light up instantly, and that's just gonna work out for you. And monetization is gonna be easy. Like doing it is, it's like, when you're really clear on what you want and you set yourself up for success, you set up the right systems, the processes, like the things that you need to actually accomplish to make it happen, it's gonna, like things are gonna fall into place and it's gonna work out. I believe that 100%. Like it's happened, like, so for like my mold story, I mentioned this at the mastermind, is like I moved up from Miami to Kennesaw a year ago to this apartment. I moved in with my boyfriend and I started getting really sick and I didn't know why. And at this time I had a digital agency, and it was like basically when I got sick I couldn't work in my business. Like I couldn't get out of bed, and my hands were swollen and my face was swollen, even my throat, like I wouldn't be able to talk or breathe. I had to go to urgent care plenty of times. It was like very serious actually. And like I kept getting sick and my business wasn't working, and like I didn't even like my business at that point either. I was just doing what people said I should be doing. And I kind of just like stopped that business, which is like the story I mentioned at the mastermind. But the important thing was, you know, I decided, okay, I never want a business to rely on me again, because if I'm sick like this, I need to take care of myself. So the next business I started, I made sure that I set up the systems, I empowered the team, I set up the processes. I was like, if I don't show up, it will be okay. And the business will keep running and making money and everything's going to be good. And then I found out that there was toxic mold in my apartment, and I had been living there for a year. And I decided, okay, you know what? I had actually, a few weeks before that, I had decided, a coach asked me, a mentor asked me, what do you really want? And I had just visited Canada, and I had stayed in an Airbnb that was a corner unit with floor-to-ceiling windows, and I felt so inspired in that space. I got so much work done. I felt so good. I'm like, I would love to live in an apartment like this, right? And I come home to my apartment and it doesn't even feel right, you know? And I was forcing it to feel right. And it was like roach infestation, broken furniture. It was like a college apartment, so people were throwing parties. I was like trying hard to make this the place. Like, this is what I wanted. Yes, yes, yes. It was not. Like, I knew from the first day I walked in, I was like, this is it? Like, this isn't it, you know? And so my mentor asked me, so what do you really want? I'm like, I want to move to my dream apartment. And they're like, that's really vague. Like, get specific. Like, show me your dream apartment. And I started looking up listings, and I linked to one that's like right down the street here, at floor-to-ceiling windows. And I showed him, he's like, okay, it's done. When are you going to do it? And I'm like, well, my lease isn't up until like late 2018, so I'll probably move into the apartment then. A week or two later, I find out there's toxic mold. And I'm like, whoa, I cannot live here. No wonder I've been so sick. That day, I move out. We go live with my boyfriend's grandparents, and I go to promove.com, and they give me 30 listings, and I told them I want a corner unit, floor-to-ceiling windows in the best area possible, and they gave me 30 listings in Buckhead and Midtown. I pick 15. The next day, we spend the weekend, 2 days, looking at like 13 different places. This apartment was the first place I saw, and when I walked in, I was like, this is it. I don't need to look at any other apartments. This is it. This is That's exactly awesome. What I imagined. And we still looked at other places. I was like, this is it. And I was like, you know, I wasn't expecting to move to 2018. I was like, I like called my bookkeeper and my accountant. I'm like, can I make this work financially? Because it's like triple the amount of rent per month. And they're like, yeah, it's possible. And I was just like, and then the whole time I was like, how did this happen? You know, like, I'm not supposed to break my lease, but I hired a lawyer and we were able to break the lease because, you know, toxic mold, it was making me really sick. Yeah. It was just like all of this, like once I decided, okay, I want floor-to-ceiling windows. I want to take care of my health and not like be free from my business, but still have the control of like, it's still making money, it's still running, my team is secure and good to go. When I decided all of this and I got clear on like really my current circumstances weren't working for me anymore and I don't want that and this is what I want, things started falling into place. And I'm not going to say that it was easy. Like, there were definitely challenges, like getting approved for this apartment. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. It's hard to prove your income. I don't have pay stubs. Yeah. So that was a challenge. That makes sense. During that time, I had a lot of events that I was traveling to. So, like, literally the day we got the keys, we got a U-Haul and I got some friends to help. We moved that entire day. The next day, I had a flight. You know, so I had to move in, like, a couple of hours with the help of friends. Like, Gabriel had a fever that week. So it was just like shit hit the fan. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But it was just like, and I think that happens too. Like at the last minute, shit's gonna hit the fan, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, this is really tough. But you know it's worth it, and you just need to stick through it, and you're clear that this is exactly what you need to do. Like, what if you decide, okay, you monetize your podcast and you're gonna go travel and your car breaks down or you can't get the right car rental or you like lose something or you lose your wallet and you don't have your driver's license, you need to go get your driver's license, and then the person that you were supposed to couch surf canceled. But like what's gonna end up happening is like you're gonna find somebody way better to hang out with in or wherever. Like we're in Atlanta, so like what's next state? Like Tennessee. Yeah. California is pretty far. Yeah. And then like your car will break down, but it will be better because that means like, you know, it's just things are gonna line up even though it looks like everything is going wrong. And it's just like time and time again, I see it with myself, with my friends, like when you are 100% clear on exactly what you want and you are committed to making it happen, like it's going to happen. I believe it 100%.
That's awesome. I was going to say, I think a lot of people also are very intimidated. You mentioned that, you have a team of people and all this stuff. I think people get intimidated by like hiring others onto their dream and their thing, because I feel that too. Like, because eventually I definitely want to have people that are doing all the things about the podcast that I don't enjoy doing and the things that can be automated and things like that, because I love like what you were talking about, how if you want to go do something else, your business needs to be able to thrive while you're doing this thing. And I see that with, like, for example, with my dad's business. My dad owns a Dippin' Dots franchise.
Really? I love Dippin' Dots.
Yeah.
What?
So we have Dippin' Dots in our Oreo Dippin' Dots are the bomb.
Good. I definitely cannot have that. That is not in my diet right now.
But this is something super off topic, but the reason why Oreo Dippin' Dots are so good is because normal Oreo ice cream, the Oreos get soggy, but in Oreo Dippin' Dots, they stay crunchy.
I know.
And it's amazing.
So good.
It's so good. Like, Oreo Dippin' Dots are so underrated. But anyways, but with my dad's business, like, he runs and manages a lot of the day-to-day stuff. And so I see it all the time where it's like, instead of owning his own business, it seems like he's just owning his own job, that kind of thing. And like, he does have the people, he does have, a location where, it does run pretty smoothly automated, but there are other things that he could definitely implement that would make it so that he could be a lot more automated and do a lot more things that right now he might not feel like he has the freedom to do. Mm-hmm. But I think, my dad has listened to a lot of the podcasts, so if he's listening to this right now, like, obviously I'm not saying this to be negative.
He hates you, Dad. That's what he's trying to tell you.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think a lot of times it's probably that, finding the right systems and making the right, finding the right team and making the right team and stuff like that seems like a lot more effort than just whatever, like, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, well, like, definitely, especially because like that's usually where my clients are at. It's like, I don't have time. Like, I already have a lot on my plate, and to have to hire somebody and train them and check up on them, and a lot of people start micromanaging because, like, this is a baby to them. Like, this isn't like some side, like, thing. Like, this is like an actual business. This is something that you, like, really care about, and so you want to make sure that the people are doing it right. And so, yes, like, there are systems that you can set up to be able to automate this, that way you're not spending all the time training and onboarding and like checking up on them. Like, there's like systems and checks that you could put in place that you can make sure that the quality is consistent across the board. And it's just like, it might take some effort up front, but in the long run it's going to be way better because you can let go, you can trust, you can be secure and confident in your business that it's running the way that you want it to run without you having to be the bottleneck of it growing.
That makes a lot of sense, because a lot of people get stuck in that bottleneck of, I can, like, for me, for example, with my podcast, I can only put out so many podcasts, even though I have some in the tank. Like, I have ones that are recorded that are not released, because I'm the one that's writing up the show notes, making the artwork, putting it up, actually editing the thing, and so that's my bottleneck right now, and that's where my next step, I guess, once I monetize, because obviously I can't really hire someone until I'm making money, but my next step would be to hire someone who's going to do all that day-to-day kind of stuff.
Well, what you could do in preparation is record yourself doing what you're already going to be doing and talk yourself through it. It's like, okay, so this is how I do my show notes. I re-listen to the podcast. And so record yourself re-listening to the podcast and be like, ooh, you know what? This is a really good timestamp for the show notes. I'm going to write it down. And the reason why I picked this timestamp is because of this, and that. And so this is the way I'm going to format it, and this is why. And then so, like, once I'm done, I'm going to put it on this page and I'm going to put it here. And I have this, like, piece of code that I actually realized I used constantly for my show notes because I just wanted to look the same. So this is the code snippet. And it's just like, you're already going to do it, so just make a video of you doing it. Mm-hmm. It's like bootstrapping, kind of like an SOP, a standard operating procedure. Like, that's what I usually tell my clients to do. And, like, I'll come in and, like, make it a little bit more organized and, like, mapped out. Mm-hmm. But just to start off with, like, because when you hire somebody, then you're going to have to walk them through that one-on-one. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's something that was kind of taught to me with when I was in Boy Scouts. Like, when you're doing your Eagle Scout project, like, the goal of it, hypothetically is when you make your whole project, you have to do this whole write-up and make a giant, like sometimes it's like hundreds of, like for some people I've seen like where literally it's like hundreds of pages long, which is crazy. But a lot of it's diagrams. But the point of it, I don't know if you're familiar with an Eagle Scout project, but basically you have to create something that's going to benefit the community in some way that is going to be like long lasting. So a lot of times people will build like a bench for or a few benches for a park, or they'll like create something that will benefit the community, whatever it might be. But the idea behind the write-up is that like if you died or you didn't actually do the project, you could hand this to somebody and they could execute it the exact same way that you would have executed it if you were there.
Yep.
And so that goes down to, okay, how are you going to get the screws? Well, I'm going to go to Home Depot and get the screws. Okay, like sometimes they are really nitpicky. They're like, okay, so which aisle do you have to go into to get those screws?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes they get so nitpicky just to teach you a lesson, because sometimes the first draft is so vague that they're like, it's kind of that old exercise like, okay, tell me how to eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich. It's like, okay, you take the peanut butter, you put it on. Oh, well, do you have to open the jar? Do you have to take out a knife? Do you have to clean the knife after you're done? Like, what do you do? So you have to like really, really, really break down. And for some people that's so tedious,
really
but it's important.
Because like, what if you hire somebody and you kind of like, you're vague like that, and then they do something not the same way that you do it, and then you get pissed. But like, why are you going to get pissed if your orders were vague in the first place? Like, they're going to do it in their style, in their way. And if the consistency of the quality of work is not the same, that's your responsibility as the leader of the company, not theirs. So those like nitpicky things, I'm actually really nitpicky with my clients. So I'll like ask those questions of them. It's like, so wait a second, like, so you want it this way, but like how? Like, do you want this or this? Like, I will find all of the variations. They'll be like super annoyed. I'm like, you're gonna want this, because if somebody does it a different way and you're not happy, that falls on you. And that falls on the vagueness of the process. And that's why I even like when I was saying, it's like, why are you doing it? What's the thought process? Because a lot of people put like instructions on paper. It's like, okay, so first grab the peanut butter and then the jelly. But like, people can do that, great. Like, but like when a team member doesn't know the intention or the why behind it, like what's the point? Like they're not going to be excited about it. They're not going to be enthusiastic. So if I were to say, you're grabbing the peanut butter first because I want you to open it and put a thin layer of peanut butter and put that away because I want a lot of jelly. A lot of jelly makes me really happy. Oh, okay, so like now I know my why. It's like, well, more jelly makes this person happy, so of course I'm gonna like put more jelly, which is like a really silly example, but like,
it makes a lot of sense actually. I love that analogy.
It's true. Like I don't like peanut butter, so it's like if there's too much peanut butter, I am like not a happy camper, and I'm not gonna eat that PB&J. So it's like, you know, so and then at that point your team member is on board with your vision and with your mission. It's like, the reason why we do it this way is because it makes this impact, or this quality of work happens, or like whatever it is. And people can like now understand why you do what you do. And it's like everybody's on the same page and everybody's working towards the same mission. And that is way more powerful than just like hiring somebody and telling them do A, B, C, and that's it.
Yeah, and also it's kind of like a self-audit, because if you're analyzing why you're doing certain things and then you realize like there isn't really a reason why I'm doing this, maybe there should be, or maybe there should be more of a purpose behind this, you know, then you can actually boil it down to what should be happening versus what you're just doing. A
lot of the thing I see this a lot is like, I'll ask like, why are you using this tool? Like, why are you using Trello? Oh, because, you know, I saw you write about it on your blog and I thought that Trello's the best because you said so. And I'm like, that's not even a good reason. Like, is it even working for you? Like, is this really, do you like Trello? And they're like, not really. I don't understand it. I'm like, so what do you understand? It's like, well, I understand Asana and I like Asana better. It's like, okay, so let's switch to Asana. And they're like, are you serious? Why? And I'm like, why? Because that's your strength and because you and your team will understand it better. So that's why we're going to use this tool. Like, I see a lot of people using tools because somebody convinced them because they get an affiliate commission out of it. But it doesn't really work for their business. And it's like, but why? Like, why are you even using this tool if it's not working? Like, what will work?
Yeah. That's like one thing that's one of my biggest pet peeves about, like, even with like for podcasts, for example, like people putting out so much content and they're like, yes, and you definitely have to use this thing. And it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like Gary Vee always talks about marketers ruin everything. It's like, damn, I really wanted to listen to this podcast without feeling like you're suckering me into like buying your thing or like whatever. So and sometimes that's fine.
Why are you using this microphone setup?
Yeah, well, I'm using this microphone setup because I had a goal of making the most portable setup that I could.
Okay, but what if I told you that you should be using this Blue Yeti mic over here, and you should be lugging this around and setting up 2 Yeti mics to talk to people, because like Yeti mics are the best. It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense for me. Exactly, but I think so many people initially are not clear on their vision, so they just kind of go along with whatever.
No, but I get affiliate commission when you buy off of my Amazon page.
Okay, I'll go buy your Yeti mic. This episode is sponsored by Yeti Mics. Go to recentmakemillions.yetimics.com.
That is not a real link, you guys. And so, like, I do have my resources.
You should go make it.
I know,
like a trolling page.
I actually might. Don't tempt me. But, oh my God.
I'm a sucker for like little Easter egg things that you spend so much time on.
I have a few on my website, actually.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Like things that are just like Easter eggs that no one will probably ever see, but then like the one person that sees it, they're like,
wait,
bravo.
Did you see about the KFC thing?
No, what happened?
Okay, so it was like an article. I sent it to Gabriel this morning. It was like, oh my God, look at this. My mom is like texting me like over and over and over and over again. This is what I mean by like my family doesn't really understand. I'm like, I'm working right now. Like I can't answer your text. But basically like this dude on Twitter realized that the KFC Twitter handle is following, I think like five Spice Girls and 6 guys named Herb. So they're following 11 spices and herbs. And so KFC went out of their way to find out who this guy is and sent him a portrait of him piggyback riding. I'm just like, dude, what is this? KFC is awesome. And then they gave him like a huge amount of $5 gift cards. I think it was like 50 something.
And the crazy thing is now we're talking about it.
I know.
But that's the kind of like little thing. Like I keep talking about Gary Vee, but like he always is suggesting really good ideas like that. Like he was saying if he owned the New York Jets, he's like, when do people become a fan of like a football team? It's like they become a fan of them probably when they're really young. So if I became the owner of the New York Jets, I would figure out every household that had children in a 20-mile radius, and on their second birthday or whatever, send them a New York Jets jersey. That's going to cost me a lot of money, but it's going to make me millions of fans in the long run, because these kids, their parents are going to get the New York Jets jersey, the kid's going to want to wear it, and then all of a sudden he loves the New York Jets, and then that becomes the thing forever.
Yeah,
like, you can't create new fans of adults. Like, it's not like you're going to take this Falcons fan and turn him into a Patriots fan. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yep.
So you have to get them while they're young or whatever.
Smart.
And so, like, for example, with restaurants, it's like KFC, this like established brand, they have to like do something radically different and like very specific and weird or whatever to get new people to recognize that they're even doing anything different. Because I'm a sucker for like little weird stuff like that too. I love that stuff
too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. But yeah, like marketers kind of ruin everything in that sense, where it's like if you find some new thing, someone's going to figure out how to like make money off of that. And of course, there's nothing wrong. That's another thing that I think people get caught up in, is they're like, I don't want to feel like I'm like getting money off of it. It's like there's nothing wrong with monetizing things. There's nothing wrong with getting money for things. There's nothing wrong for affiliate links or anything like that. But people can do it overkill, and people can do it wrong way, and people can do it like maliciously and stuff like that.
So for one example is ClickFunnels affiliate, right? Or ConvertKit affiliate. Like those are the ones that I do. And I realize it's like, why am I going to tell somebody to use ClickFunnels or ConvertKit and then kind of just like, that's it, like that's how how I experienced affiliate stuff. Like I would get an affiliate and then it was like, okay. But then you see like MLM companies building teams, and they train their team to like sell this product and to actually use the product that they're like, buying into. And so not a lot of people like MLMs, but that's actually kind of smart. So I started doing that like with ConvertKit, for example. It's like, okay, if you join ConvertKit under my affiliate link, first of all, you're not going to join it unless you know exactly what this tool is, what it does, who it's for, and who it's not for. So I will give extensive demos. Like I will stay on the phone for somebody with 2 hours answering every single ConvertKit question they have, before they actually sign up. And if it's not a good fit for them, like they need a CRM or a sales pipeline, or they like whatever, I'll be like, okay, go to ActiveCampaign or something else. Or like if they want like Infusionsoft, I'm like, I'm not going to convince you not to go on Infusionsoft. Go on Infusionsoft. Like, I don't care. So, and then people will be so surprised. They're like, but you get an affiliate commission. And I'm like, I don't really care if it's going to not be of service to you, because then that ruins my reputation, you know? So then once they join under my affiliate link, I have this whole system set up. I have like, once they start on their free trial, because I have a 30-day free trial, they get like these daily trainings on how to migrate over to ConvertKit, how to get set up, how to set up their first form and landing page, the sequences, the tagging, like everything. I have them in a group. I'll do Q&A calls. I'll do video tutorials. They can ask any question they want. I'll set up their template for them. Like I do like overkill amount of work for people. And it's just like, I just can't imagine doing anything else, because if somebody is under my affiliate link, I want them to be successful on the tool, and I love the tools. But I also don't want to play people in the way of like, oh, join ConvertKit just because it's my affiliate link. You know, like I want to lead them in the right direction. And some people aren't like a good fit for ConvertKit, and that's totally fine. And the same thing for ClickFunnels. Like I created this 60-minute funnel challenge. And if you have the content and you know what you're selling and you just need help with the tech part of setting up the funnel, it's a completely free thing. Like you could go step by step. I walk you through how to set up a funnel in ClickFunnels. I walk you through how to integrate ConvertKit. I walk you through how to set up a webinar with Easy Webinar and integrate all three. And I show you how to set up your phone calls completely free at your own pace. And people finish these funnels in under an hour, and they're like, this is the most valuable thing, and I didn't even sign up under your affiliate link. And I'm like, good. Like, that's not even what matters to me. What matters is it was valuable and it helped somebody out. And then even if they like did it on lead pages, for example, or like Infusionsoft, like I don't care. As long as like they were actually like it helped them, it made an impact, and they're able to keep sharing whatever they want, like the content that they had. And then like, you know, my affiliate commission grows even without me trying to like scam people, basically.
That's what people don't understand. I love that you mentioned that, because it's like, people cannot feel like they're putting in work without getting money. Like they're really, really obsessed with that. They're like, well, why would I make this? People are just going to manipulate it and use it for free. And it's like, dude, that's not the point. You're establishing yourself as an expert in this space. So even when people do go use Infusionsoft or like something else you're not getting an affiliate commission for, they probably have a friend that might eventually want to use ClickFunnels and be like, oh, you definitely have to go to Katya's website because she showed me this whole thing. I didn't even use her affiliate link, but it taught me like everything I needed to know. And then you just get referrals like that.
I give like my funnels as done for you templates. Like I let people have my funnel. You don't even need to funnel hack me. You get it for free when you sign up under my ClickFunnels affiliate. I give you all of my, as of course I have like a legal disclaimer of like, don't actually like word for word copy me, because that's not right.
Yeah.
But like here, like start off, like I will make, like somebody was like, do you have a template for this? I'm like, no, but I'll make one. And they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I'll make your funnel for you. I don't care. Like, you know, it's just like, it's just so easy. Like right now, it is so easy to go above and beyond for people and stand out, because not a lot of people are in it just for like getting rich quick.
Yeah. And even in jobs, like it's way easier to be better than your coworkers.
It is so
because people
easy.
never want to go above and beyond because they're like, well, I'm not getting a raise for this. And like you were saying, all you have
to do is care.
Yeah, all you have to do is care. Like you were saying, you were learning like upper management level things, and you're like, I'm doing this stuff and I'm not even getting paid for it. What the heck? So many people would never even like consider even thinking about trying to do that.
I can't turn off that part of my brain. Like I systemize things. And so whenever I see something broken or not working in a company, I come in, I'm like, look, this, and this needs to happen. Like there have been many jobs where I've been training management and I'm like the lower level person, and I'm like, here, like I created this process, take it and run with it. Like whatever. And then I get bored because there's nothing else to fix. So.
Well, it sounds like you're in the perfect space then, because you're going in and fixing other people's problems, which is super helpful. That's one thing that I don't think a lot of people think about when they're thinking about making money, is they think like, oh, I've got to get a job or I've got to do this thing. And really all a job is you're providing a like work or a service or whatever for some sort of value for somebody else. And if you can provide a lot of value to a few select people, like if you have 5 clients but you are providing them massive value, it's going to bring you massive income. If you're providing a little bit of value, like if you have a podcast where You know, even if it's not even an educational podcast, it's just an entertaining podcast, and you're providing that to millions of people, you're providing a little bit of value, a little bit of entertainment to someone's day, and you're going to create tons of income because you're providing so much value for so many people. And so, like, you know, I think the one thing that I was telling my brother this the other day, because he was talking about, we need to like move to Amsterdam or something like that. And I was like, well, we've got to figure out how we can provide value in that space. If we move to Amsterdam and just get jobs as like bartenders, we're going to be starving because, you know, it's really expensive to live there and we're not providing very much value for people. Yeah. We're just serving drinks or whatever.
Well, the bigger the problem that you're solving, the bigger the income you're going to make.
Very true.
Especially if there's an urgency to the problem. Like, you know, bartending versus running the bar. Who's going to be, like, who has more responsibility, who has, like, more problems that they're fixing, and who has the bigger income, you know?
Yeah, it's very true. And, like, the bigger the fish you can fry, like, people are intimidated by trying to solve big problems, but, like, that's like something you love doing, so you're, like, in the perfect space.
Like, here's the way to think about it is, like, for example, I suck at health. Like, I'm just, like, you know, you can start talking to me about, like, all this science stuff and, like, health and, like, diets and whatever, and I will totally blank out, okay? So it's, like, I will pay top dollar for somebody to, like, be my personal trainer, to cook for me. Like, I have a chef I think you met at the mastermind. It's, like, that's a big problem for me because I went to the doctor and I was given a packet and was told I can't eat a huge list of foods. I have no idea what I would be eating if I didn't have a chef, you know? And then people get so scared. Like, I used to be so scared of charging money for things, but I actually had a call with somebody, and I was like offering her free work, and she was like, "Look, I need you to charge me for this." And I'm like, "Why? Like, I could get it done in like 7 minutes." And she's like, "This has taken me 7 months to figure out. I'm going to pay you. I don't care if it comes easy to you. It doesn't come easy to me, and I'm willing to pay for that." Right? People are willing to pay for their weaknesses or their problems. Yeah. And if you can solve that problem, and if you're not 100% confident, like, yeah, do free work and create results for people. But once you have those results, once you're able to say, look, I am really good at this and I can solve this problem and this is the result you can get, you can charge. You can charge money for that.
Yeah, and that's another thing that people are scared of is like, but it's so easy for me. I feel almost bad charging this person like $2,000 for me to solve this problem that I can literally like easily be, well, it's obviously this. Just change the system, 5 minutes later, you've solved their problem. But it's like for those people, that's just not their strength. And
it's also like really selfish because when people don't invest in themselves, then they're not invested in the solution and fixing the problem. So you need the commitment of word. You need the commitment of finances, and you need the commitment of time. And if you don't have all three, like if you have like somebody's committing through their word and through their time, but they're not invested financially, you know, they might like details might slip through the cracks, or they might not show up, or they might not value it in the same way as if they had put down like $1,000 to it, right? Like it happens all the time. Like somebody gives a free course scholarship. Some people actually go for it and do the whole course, but then the majority of the time, it's like if they don't have accountability and if they're not invested, that course is just going to sit there.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. You know, a lot of times people, they're like, oh, you can learn so much on YouTube. You can take free online courses, and it's like people never do that.
Then why haven't you?
Yeah,
That's exactly what I always ask. It's like, oh, I could learn this on YouTube. I'm like, well, why haven't you? If you could learn this on YouTube, why haven't you gotten the results that you say you want? You know, like I hired a life coach and it was a big number. I think it was like maybe $20,000 or $30,000, and that was a huge investment. But I had never invested in myself. It was so easy to invest in business, but when I finally invested in myself, I took it seriously. I'm like, I'm going to show up to all of these calls. I'm going to be very brutally honest, even though I don't really want to be having some of these conversations, you know. And I'm going to take care of my health. I'm going to take care of, you know, of me. And you know, like I had taken a ton of courses about self-care and the newsletters where it's like, yeah, this is the diet you should be doing. And, you know, you can go on Google and look up a bunch of things, but I didn't take it seriously until I put a huge number into the game, you know? And so it's the same thing with business. It's like, yeah, you can YouTube it, or you could hire a mentor that's going to be calling you up and saying, well, why didn't you do this thing? You said you were going to do it. Why haven't you? You know?
Very true.
Very different. Very different environment.
Very true. That's awesome. I feel like this is a good place to wrap things up. I feel like we talked about a lot of stuff.
I know. I feel like I could talk for days.
Me too. That's
Podcast
my problem.
part 2?
Sometimes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I feel like we could talk for a long time. I was going to say, unfortunately, I have to be somewhere in a little bit. But if people want to find you or they want to have you as a customer or whatever, or if they want to be your customer, they want to be your client, how can they reach out to you, find you, all that stuff?
Yes, so my website is reachandmakemillions.com, and I have all of my information on there. You could reach out through there. I'm also Katya Sarmiento and Reach and Make Millions all across the board on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm really big on Facebook and I really love Instagram. So if you want to find me, I usually talk to people on there on my Instagram and Facebook stories. And then like I have that free funnel challenge on my website. I have a couple of other like free resources and stuff on there because like my clients are more specifically people that are in like the multi 6 figures. So if you're that person, definitely reach out because I've been doing a lot of like strategy sessions with people trying to at least help them map out a plan of action of like how to scale to 7 figures. Whether they work with me or not doesn't really matter as long as like they're clear on what actually needs to happen. And then for everything else, I post a lot of free content on my website. So
cool. That's really awesome. Well, yeah, definitely. If that sounds like you, then you should definitely go to her website and check all that stuff out. But that's pretty much it. Any last words of wisdom or anything?
Oh man, every time somebody asked me this yesterday and I like did some really dramatic thing. I like said the name of their podcast. It was actually Start With a Vision. I don't know if you met Isaiah at the mastermind.
I don't think I did.
He's really cool. But I was like really dramatic with it and funny because it's like we've just talked about so much. What are my parting words? Just like re-listen to this podcast and like take notes and like because I just like walked through almost every mistake and every learning I've made in the past like how many years?
Yeah.
So, oh man. But I think like, you know, in seriousness though, it's like if you really want to be an entrepreneur and you really want to like make, like if you have a clear vision and a goal, like it's just like believe in yourself and just even when shit hits the fan, keep going. And you've got what it takes. Like no matter what it is that you want to do, if you want it, it's already done. And I say this to everybody, like if like my friend wanted to like start a new business, I'm like, it's done. It's done. And it's going to happen. And so if you just keep believing that, the opportunities will arise, the challenges will arise as well, and will help you grow and become the person that reaches that goal. And of course, like hire mentors, like look for help, listen to this podcast, right? And like things, you know, everybody's on their own journey and it's exactly where you need to be. And so keep going.
There we go.
Don't stop.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And
thank you for having me.
We'll talk to you later, everybody. Boom. There you have it, folks. Another episode in the tank. Like Katya said at the end, if you're interested in creating sales funnels, you can check out her website, reachandmakemillions.com/podcast, where she will show you how to make your first money-making funnel. And I would definitely take her up on that if I was you. She obviously knows a lot. And I really want to thank Katya again for being on the show. Very awesome guest. If you enjoyed this episode, I have a very sneaking suspicion that you will also really enjoy episode 56 with George Yu. And George is another entrepreneur who's done a lot of interesting things, but namely, he is the founder of a company called Wind Pouch. And you've probably seen them before. They're those little inflatable hammock couch things. But if you haven't seen them, you can Google them. But George was actually asked to come on Shark Tank, and he got chosen by Mark Cuban for 20% of his company for $500,000. So I think it's safe to say that George is doing pretty big things. He also told me about his experience at Shark Tank and all kinds of other fun stuff on that episode as well. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy that episode. Like I said, if you enjoyed this past episode. And also, I think you would also really enjoy episode 15, which is with our friend Austin Distel. Fun fact, without Austin, probably wouldn't have been able to do this episode with Katya because Katya and I met at an event that he organized a few weeks ago. But anyways, Austin's a tech entrepreneur, travel hacker, digital marketer. And a few years ago, his second business that he started won the Choose ATL Ultimate Job Interview Contest. It's kind of like a Shark Tank style pitch in front of a live audience and a panel of 5 execs from Atlanta's top companies. And he ended up winning first place and a grand prize of $10,000. And since then, he's done a whole bunch. He's moved up to Annapolis, Maryland. And his current project is called the Entrepreneur Alliance. It's a global club for entrepreneurs with a library of trainings, weekly master classes with millionaires, an online community, and local events in many major cities. That episode is also full of awesome value, and you should definitely go check it out. That was episode 15 with Austin Distel. Coming up next, we've got episode 59 with Jack Morrow. And I've known Jack for a long time. I knew him back in middle school where we used to run cross country together. And we were also in the same Boy Scout troop growing up. And he was a very skinny, kind of nerdy looking dude, but he always had really big goals. And he ended up going to the Naval Academy. I'm friends with him on Facebook, but nothing he really ever posted stood out to me that much. It was kind of just like, oh yeah, Jack Morrow. But a few years ago, he posted some pictures, and I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was a picture of him like flexing on the beach or something. But my immediate reaction was just like, what? That's Jack Morrow? No, it can't be Jack Morrow. Jack looked like he had eaten Jack Morrow. Like Jack had doubled in size, but he looked like the freaking Hulk. Like, it was insane. I didn't even know a transformation like that was possible. But there he was. And a couple years have passed. Jack's gotten even stronger and bigger. So, of course, when I heard that he was going to be in town, I had to have him on the podcast so y'all could hear his story. Not only has he made a physical transformation, but he's also a very, very smart dude and super successful. He lives out in Coronado, California now. So I was really happy to be able to catch him over the Thanksgiving holiday. But that episode will be out very soon, so stay tuned. All right, this has been a really long outro, so I'm going to just keep it short. But if you want to support the podcast, if you want to support what I'm trying to do here, please go to iTunes and rate the podcast. 5 stars preferably. That'd be awesome. But, if you feel like I get less than that, then sure. Do it. But I would really appreciate it. The more ratings I have on there, the more I will be able to get this podcast out to more people. iTunes is the number one place where people discover podcasts. So please, please, please go share there. If you want to support me, that's the number one place. But if you also want to follow me on social media, you can go to my website, andrewdeitsch.com. That's andrewdeitsch.com. You can find links to all of my social media handles and accounts. All right, that's it. Thanks again, everybody. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Like, my mom was screaming at me for being on the computer at 2 a.m. instead of me, like, sneaking out and doing drugs and having sex and going to parties. Like,
yeah, it's very true.
That was our worst arguments. I was on the computer working.